My name is Nickolas Butler. I'm the author of a novel called Shotgun Love Songs, a collection of short stories called Beneath the Bonfire, and another novel that's going to be released in 2017 called The Faithlessness of Men. I've been a poet all along, and I used to do some sort of creative nonfiction writing in my 20s, mostly about coffee and stuff. Mostly I just use this older Toshiba laptop. I have like a series of, I probably have at any given time 20 different pocket notebooks. And so when I'm away from the computer, traveling or whatever, I have like a notepad to jot ideas in. And those are pretty much the two things I rely on. Today I'm working on this play that I've been working on for over a year. There's a playhouse in Chicago that's interested in working with me, and so I've got some time before I have to do my edits on the next novel, and just trying to stay busy with the project. So yeah, this play I think is going to be called Milk and Sawdust, and it's about two couples that recently had kids and entering their sort of early to mid 30s, and a set of like marital challenges that sort of happens at that time in people's life. So like I said, I've been working on this project for about a year and a half, and I got some great feedback from kind of a new friend in Chicago who's a director. And I'd never written plays before at all. I didn't go to school for drama. But I had started reading the plays of Sam Shepard and really got interested in what he was doing and the ideas that he was tackling. And so I decided that I had some time and I would try and do something different. The one bit of feedback that I got from this director was that the play just wasn't long enough and I hadn't explored these characters long enough. So now I'm in this sort of phase where I'm trying to, it's sort of crazy, like these are just imaginary people, but I've now spent 2 or 3 months just trying to get inside their head and figure out what their lives are like and what their frailties are, and it's exciting. It's exciting to do something a little different. And so when I'm writing, I listen to jazz or classical music. Right now I'm listening to this guy named Colin Stetson, who was up here for the Eau Claire Music Festival, and he's a saxophonist. And there's one track that I've been listening to intensively, and when I say intensively, I just listen to the same track literally hundreds of times in a row or whatever. It just becomes sort of like a buffer between me and the telephone ringing or the doorbell ringing or my children if they're around. And it just allows me to get into a frame of mind where I'm like both enjoying the music and thinking about the music, but also totally focused on writing. I can't listen to stuff with lyrics. It's impossible for me not to be paying attention to what they're saying. I can't just zone it out. When I sit down at the computer, I'm not every day trying to figure out something new. Like I don't sit down at the computer unless I have a plan in mind. And sometimes that means there are weeks when I don't work. I'm sort of embarrassed to say there's months when I don't work. But when I'm not working, I'm still thinking about things and trying to get prepared. So when I do sit down at the computer, I know precisely where I want to go, or more or less precisely where I want to go. And I think what I'm doing is just putting ideas down there. And, it's going to be definitely like a rougher draft than what I would normally do. But it's just kind of getting the idea down there, and then I'll smooth out the dialogue later. And mostly, one nice thing about working on a play is that you're not building a scene with the same intensity that I would in fiction. Right now it's just this dialogue between two characters, so it's sort of freeing. Like once you get into the rhythm of their conversation, you can go pretty quick. When I first sat down, it was sort of hard to find where I was even gonna step back into the manuscript. I don't always work in a totally linear fashion. I'm working on action that's probably taking place 2/3 or 3/4 of the way through the play. I'm probably not gonna like really edit a whole lot today because that's a lot of me just sort of reading and not a whole lot of writing. And also, again, this is something I've been working on for a long time, so there's areas of it that are super smooth. but I'm definitely gonna have to go back and work on the scene